Hi, my name is Brett Schmidt,
And I'm Aileen Griffen.
and we are presenting on our observation of child development. Now, to begin, we did a study that was conducted for the purpose to observe, classify, and determine different abilities of motor learning and development in children aged 3 to 5 years old. More specifically, our hypothesis includes that greater motor development, greater motor control, and increased cognitive logic will be more observable in the older children as compared to their younger peers.
The methodology that we used to apply to our observations included information gathering as we were observing the children and trying to get them in a neutral environment, and that meant limiting the interference and interaction that we had to the children. We also took detailed notes that contained written logs for each observation session, and for a grand total, there were 6 separate observations that were taken throughout the weeks. We also utilized specific stages and models that were referenced back to our book that included Bernstein's stages of learning, and we applied these to movements like walking and running, and that was classified between freezing of limbs, releasing of limbs, and exploiting the environment. In addition, we use fundamental skill levels of initial, elementary, and mature to classify, again, walking, running, grasping, and reaching. And then we had one participant who observed the cognitive development of these 3 to 5-year-olds and utilized Piaget's theory, classifying them in pre-operational and then more specifically intuitive substage.
So to begin, we observed the 3-year-olds. There were very few of them, but what we did see were gross motor skills and fine motor skills that were not nearly as developed as the older kids. But the gross motor skills, they demonstrated Bernstein's freezing of the limbs while they were running. They were flat-footed with a slight tilt forward, and then their gait was not nearly as smooth as the older children. Furthermore, the fine motor skills, they had a very power and supine grasp while eating. Their movement primarily came from the shoulder. They had a very rigid elbow, rigid wrist, and when they were taking drinks, one of the observers noted that they used 2 hands to grasp the cup versus 1.
As for the 4-year-olds, the gross and fine motor skills were a little bit better compared to the 3-year-olds. Many of the children that were seen doing gross motor skills outside on the playground were either playing and running around, or they were standing over tables and playing with different and various toys. Also, they walked a little bit more smoothly, balanced, and there was slight contralateral arm swing that was noticed. For fine motor movements, the power and pronated grasp while eating was also shown, which is different from the 3-year-olds that were a little bit more elementary. The precision grasp was also used to make crafts, and it was also shown that the more shoulder and elbow movement was transferred to, so more elbow movement was used over shoulder movement when writing. In addition, the 5-year-olds were the oldest group that we ended up observing. The gross motor skills were definitely higher level than the 4-year-olds and 3-year-olds. Trunk rotation was observed with a wider gait, the elementary level of walking compared to mature or older adults. In the fine motor movement, there was definitely aspects of the tripod grasp, the dynamic tripod grasp while using utensils with prominent wrist control. And compared to the double-handed grasp of cups, there was much more single-handed grasping. And one participant observed typewriting with a pecking method as use of the fine motor skills.
Now, one of the members of the group observed some cognitive logic within the children. There was story time, and then there was experiment that was done. Now, during story time, the question was asked to the kids, what would happen if the roots of a plant or plants grew too closely to another? And the children responded with a very logical answer that the plants would die. Now, versus that, the experiment, where if, say, you had a seed in a bag and there was water added to it and it started to sprout, adults would say, let's put it in some dirt so it can grow in the soil, but the children responded, let's put dirt in the bag. This shows signs of thinking that plants do need dirt, but it doesn't go beyond what we would expect from adults. Now for the final results, our demographics, we had children, again, aged 3 to 5, with majority 4 to 5 years old, both male and female. They didn't have really an impact on the results, and then there were approximately 20 children that were observed for the project. Now, the observations came within the expected areas predicted by the hypothesis. 3-year-olds, they showed a lot, less motor control as compared to their older peers. Though they did show the same general motor program that early sign of development. And then for the 4-year-olds, again, they had significant improvement over the 3-year-olds, but they were still lacking in terms of fine motor control for like the 5-year-olds. And then the 5-year-olds were significantly dominant as compared to the 3 or 4-year-olds. They were both motor skills, they had fine motor control, and they had more logical thinking.
So as we're interpreting this, there's definitely relative distinctions for specific improvements that were made throughout the different ages. There was gradual development and attempted mastery of skills that were shown, increased understanding of concepts cognitively, and then age-related development seen through cephalocaudal, proximal, distal principle in both gross and fine motor movements. And through this, that was top to bottom and into out movement that was more utilized. One being an example of the shoulder to the elbow to the wrist in writing.
And then we wanted our observation project to be a baseline for potential future observations. And we could build upon this with observing more specific, like grasping of crayons, different kind of utensils, pencils, chalk, to get more of an idea of how their grasp has advanced and how it develops from one object to the next. We wanted to observe children, further in the Bernsteins, with them exploiting the environment. How do they work on playgrounds, trees? Are they affected by uneven surfaces or even sand versus dirt? They want to see interaction with objects, their control capabilities. They want to do, let's say, different sized balls, cups, toys. How do they respond to that? And then we want to observe even more logical tasks, so we can do pre-operational versus concrete optional for this specific age group. And this summarizes our observation project, and we hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you.